I'm Lauren with Pack Hacker, and in this video we're taking a detailed look at the Pakt Travel Backpack V2 35 liter, which I've been testing for the last 2 weeks. If you found this video helpful, hit subscribe so we can keep making content to help you travel smarter. Let's dive in. Starting off with the materials here, we have a 500D recycled nylon exterior. So that's all around this bag here. You can see it picks up pet hair pretty easily. So I found that pretty much right after I picked up this bag to start testing it, my cats looked at it the wrong way and the cat hair got all over it. So you can, when I brush it off, it doesn't really go anywhere. If you take a lint roller to it, it comes off a little bit easier. But that's just something to keep in mind. We do have a little bit of loose threading, a little bit around the pack. I found it in like a couple pockets too, but this was a pre-production sample. So, you know, we see some pretty standard or solid build quality from Pakt in general, so that's not really a worry for me. It's more of an aesthetic thing. You can just kind of cut that off. We also have YKK zippers all around this bag, and there are a lot of zippers that go to a lot of compartments, so there are a lot of options. We'll be getting into where all of those go. But the outside, it's like, it looks simple and busy at the same time, which is kind of impressive. I think it just looks pretty busy because of how many zippers there are. It's a little bit distracting, but I do like how this looks in general. I think it has like a pretty nice shape to it. I think it can be a little bit on the lumpier side, like if you just sort of look at the side profile of it, just because of the way that these pockets get packed out. So definitely a personal preference, but something to keep in mind. With the carry handles, we have this top carry handle here, which is good for quick and easy grabs. And then we have this side carry handle. There's 2 of them. This for me isn't super functional because I have tiny little hands. So grabbing the handles like this isn't very comfortable for long periods of time. You can just carry one or the other if you want to, or if you're not me and you don't have tiny little hands, that's not that big of a deal for you. But they are nicely padded. They're pretty comfortable to carry for quick grabs. And then there is a handle on the bottom as well. So when you're moving this bag, you can grab it from like either side and shift it from one side to the other. We also have these compression straps. These hook on. I'm going to loosen this one up so you can see. They just hook on really easily. It's just kind of like a little clip that slides over this attachment point. And then if you don't want to use them, you can tuck it away here, which I think is a super great feature. Sometimes I don't really want these compression straps, but if you don't use them, then they're just like flapping around. But with this one here, you can remove it when you want it. You just sort of like extend it to the other side. I just hook it in, so it's like a little bit hooked, and then as long as it's lined up properly, you can just kind of pull and it just solidifies itself right there. So I think that's super great. They do block this main compartment, so if you're going to be going in and out of the bag a ton, I would recommend just kind of leaving them unhooked and tucking them away or something like that. But the outside of it, like I mentioned, is there's just a lot going on with the zippers, but mostly that's so that it can get into all of these main compartments, or, you know, at the bottom there's a bike light loop as well. Now taking a look at this back panel. So starting off at the top, we have this little tiny carry handle. This is great for putting it up on a bathroom stall door or something like that at the airport if you're traveling solo. It's just a little bit hard to get to this top center handle if you're going to be hanging it off of something, so that's really great. Didn't feel it on the back of my neck or anything like that, so that's really nice too. We also have these load lifters, which are nice and easy to adjust. I'll show you how they function and how they look when I actually put the bag on in a second. But we also have these shoulder straps here. These are attached using like little nylon just webbing straps here. This gives the shoulder straps a ton of flexibility, and actually if you detach them here on the bottom, you can take this strap off and tuck it away into the back panel if you want to carry this as a duffel or you're putting it in an overhead bin or something like that. However, I did find that these straps, in a very general sense, were just a little bit too thick for me personally. I'll go into a little bit more detail about that shortly, but they just weren't really flexible. The padding was pretty stiff. It just felt like it was bumping into my neck and my shoulders at the same time. This back panel is pretty comfortable. I wouldn't say that it's like the most comfortable or the least comfortable I've ever carried. I think I was more distracted by the straps, to be quite honest. And then with this, we have a luggage pass-through as well, which is nice. There's also little magnets that keep it closed when you're not using it, so that's pretty cool. We also have two little loops here for attaching gear, a sternum strap on a rail system, or not a rail system, on like an individual loop system that buckles nice and easy. You can also attach a hip belt if that's something that interests you. Again, we'll show you in a second. And then there is this tiny little flap underneath here, and this includes their TSA bag, which just unclips. You can store like flat items in here as you're going through TSA. You can kind of dump everything in this pocket once you're done going through the line and then get it back into your travel backpack once you are through that line. This is the travel backpack when it's on. So I have a slightly shorter torso. I think it's about 16 inches. And in my case, I feel these shoulder straps pretty significantly, both on the edge of my shoulders and along my neck. You can see it's just kind of cutting in a little bit. And for me, that really impacted the comfort. The actual like back panel itself, like I mentioned, is fairly comfortable. We also have this hip belt to lift off the weight a little bit, and the sternum straps and the load lifters, which do a pretty significant job across the board to kind of distribute that weight. However, I think if I were to be carrying this around for long periods of time, if I had to, you know, catch trains, or like my Airbnb was at the top of a very top of a hill or something like that, then I would really start to feel these shoulder straps dig in over time. And so that would just really impact comfort for me personally. We do have some people on the team with longer and taller torsos, and for them it wasn't as uncomfortable with these shoulder straps, but across the board we did find them to be just a little bit too stiff for our taste. Despite having all of these zippers all around, there are only a few external pockets. So I'm going to start off with the water bottle pocket on the side here. I have a couple different water bottle sizes to give you an example of what it looks like. On one side here, I have I believe this is like a 17 ounce. And you can see that fits in there nice and easy, slides right in. There's like a little bit of elastic here to help keep that gusset in line, but it gussets out pretty far. And as an example, I have also a 33 ounce water bottle that slides in there nice and easy as well. So it flexes pretty nicely to larger size bottles if you're somebody who really prioritizes hydration. So that is really great. There's also this little like cinch cord in here that you can use to like wrap around your bottle and really lock it down. I didn't find myself needing this, even with that like between the 33 and the 17 ounce. I flipped it upside down and it wasn't coming out. But you know, over time, if this elastic starts to stretch or something like that, then you know, it's a nice feature to have just sort of in general. We also, just to talk a little bit more about this TSA pocket here, this is something that like isn't really in your way if you don't need it, but it's just kind of a fun feature that they add on. It hides this hip belt area, which just sometimes like sticks out on bags. So I think it just gives it a nice little aesthetic as well. But if you wanted to stick things in here for extra security, you definitely could. Just kind of buckles out of the way when you don't need it, and then is hidden by this flap on the back panel that you can see these magnet spots down here and up here. Just kind of connects, and then it's not like flapping around or anything like that. So overall pretty comfortable. Didn't even notice that it was there, honestly. So it's nice if you need it, but not in the way if you don't. We also have these two front pockets. So this bottom one here is just kind of open for you to put whatever you want in there. I think this is a really great spot for like, in this case I have a packable jacket in here. If you wanted to put like a packable rain jacket and a packable warmer jacket, or if you wanted to put like a hat and some layers or a scarf, or maybe even just like an extra layer for the plane. There are a few different places where you can put those as well in that main compartment. But that's a really great spot for that. There's no, I'm gonna flip this up so hopefully you can see it a little bit better. There's no like organization in there. So whatever you put in there, you just kind of have to make sure that, you know, if it's tiny, it's in pouches or something like that. But I think it's really the best spot for, if you have like a travel pillow, something like that, something you want access to on the plane pretty quickly, that's a good spot for that. And then this top pocket here just sort of opens and folds back. I have a toiletry kit in here because I find that this is just the best option for me personally. I like when I'm going through security to have really quick access to things like my toiletry bag. Like I said, there is some quick access to that main compartment, which we'll get into. But in my personal case, I just like this in this pocket here. It just works better for me. That's just how I travel. Then in this pocket, there are some kind of built-in organization pockets as well. We have this little zippered mesh pocket, which you can do like tiny accessories in. There is this passport pocket, which actually also has a hidden AirTag sleeve, I just want to show you something really quick. You can see this pen is kind of slipping out of this pen slot here. I didn't find myself really even needing this pen slot. It just stays out of the way if you don't need it. But it's just like a little bit too wide for most pens that I carry personally, or like have interacted with, I guess, if you want to use that word. But this AirTag pocket, it's like that little black piece of fabric down there. So I honestly had a hard time finding it in the first place. So it's super hidden. I think they did a really good job at like keeping it out of the way. It's not in a place where you traditionally find it. So that's pretty cool. And then there's this back pocket with a nice and long key leash for, keeping your keys nice and organized when it's in this pocket. And then, like I mentioned, because I keep that toiletry kit in here, if you don't keep a toiletry kit in here, you do have a lot of bulked out space, like independent literage, I guess, for lack of a better word, to really stick whatever else you want in here. For just some extra storage and quick grabs on the plane. So here is where we get into all of the individual pockets or zippers that lead to that main compartment. So we're gonna start off with this front zipper here. You can see we're just gonna kind of work our way from front to back. This zipper here opens up, and this creates an expansion system. This gives you an extra 7 centimeters of space, or 2.8 inches, or depth, I guess you can say. And so you can fill this with pretty much anything you want. There's another zipper in there that opens up the actual compartment itself. You can see it's fairly roomy. It has a lot of independent space. So you can put whatever you want in there, but this is designed to fit their 15-liter day pack. So I have that right here. You can see it just sticks right inside and fits nice and snug. You zip it up, and then you leave this unzipped. So actually, once you fill this up with gear, or at least this backpack, you really can't zip it back up. It's not like this is going to be something where you like fill it and then compress it back down. You are going to leave this open. So not that big of a deal, just makes it a little bit wider. But if you're somebody who likes to bring a day pack along, but don't necessarily want something packable because it can be really flexible and not quite as comfortable as like an actual structured day pack, then that's a really great shout for you, because you can just stick this in there, load it up with all your stuff once you arrive, and then you are good to go, and it's not taking away any space from that main compartment. Or you can just use it for whatever gear you want. So I'm going to zip this back up so that we can get to the rest of the compartments nice and easily. So starting off with this front zipper, this leads to one side of the main compartment. So you can see, just kind of remember this. We have one layer here that you can get to pretty quickly. This here is the main compartment. And then on the back here, we have access to the other side of the main compartment. And this is like a denim jacket. So these two top zippers only go down a little bit here. So it really is just designed to be quick access for your gear. But it's really handy for a specific reason. So if you go into this main compartment, we've got all these nice zipper pulls. They're like little paracord with like plastic on the end or nothing on the end, but they're pretty comfortable, nice and easy to grab. You just have to remember where they are, because I got lost all the time because there were so many zippers to choose from. So when you open this up, you can see there are two panels, and both of them are zippered shut. So if you needed to get to something in the bag, but you didn't want to open up the whole bag, that's where those top zippers come really in handy, because otherwise you'd have to unzip this, then unzip this side or this side, and then if you forget where it is, then it's just like a whole thing. So on this side here, starting here, we have a zippered compartment that fits up to a 16-inch laptop, so that fits nice and snug in there. It's super padded. It feels almost like it's like kind of like memory foamy. Like it feels like a sleeping bag or like a sleeping pad. It's just like a nice material. It gives it a little bit of cushion, so that's nice. And then on this side here, we have a mesh zippered compartment. So this is best, I found, for flat items. It just worked a lot better. Just there's not a ton of like outside space. It doesn't really like pack out super well. So definitely flat items are best in here. And then you open this up and you have access to this one side here. That was this fuzzy sweater that I showed you earlier. Got 2 packing cubes in there. It is fairly roomy. I was worried that it wasn't going to be like wasn't going to be tall enough to like actually significantly fit gear, but I do like how this ended up working out. I feel like you can fit about the same amount of stuff on either side here. It's about the size of a chunkier sweater rolled up. So if you wanted to pack jeans, if you wanted to pack shoes, it just keeps everything really organized. I personally really like this organization. I think it's well suited if you just really like everything in your travel bag to be super neat. You don't need to use packing cubes if you don't want to, but they're super handy. We also have all of these loops here, just going down the side. You can attach their accessories. So let's say you wanted to put your toiletries in one of their pouches, you can put it up here and then have quick access to it through that top compartment zipper. So that's great. And then when you're done, you just zip it back up. It's mesh see-through on this side, and then this side here unzips in the same way, and you have basically the same amount of space. So this is the 35-liter version. This side here doesn't have any of those attachment loops, but it does have access to the frame sheet, and then the right amount or the same amount of that compartment space to load it up with your gear. So if you're somebody who really likes that extra organization and to have everything compressed down, then this is going to be a super great option for you. For me, the biggest downfall of this bag is its carry comfort. And once this thing is loaded out, it can get pretty heavy. So it's just up to you to determine if that's a deal breaker. So there you have it, the Pakt Travel Backpack V2 35-liter. Thanks for keeping it here at Pack Hacker, your guide to smarter travel, and we'll see you in the next one.